Episode 3. Sophia had been really pissed off that she had not been stripped of rank and turned from the pack by his father Alpha Blaine at the time. She had demanded that J-Law be made a rogue for the insult, but his father had simply stated no, it's inappropriate under the circumstances. Those circumstances being he knew that J-Law and Nathan had been sleeping together for just over a year, and he felt there was more to it, that Sophia had probably overreacted. Due to the move she had made that week, the letter should have arrived. It was possible that she hadn't received it, but there was also the possibility that she had read it and ignored it, moved to avoid him. Turning the letter over in his hand, he looked at his beta. So this is how she's going to play, is it? You did order her to leave and never come back, Jackson replied simply. If she didn't get the first letter and return the other two, perhaps she doesn't know the content. He was leaning casually against the wall. He appeared bored. Nathan returned his attention to the envelope and stared at it for a long time, trying to decide a course of action. He nodded to himself after several minutes of contemplation. All right, let's make it really official. Something she can't just ignore without the threat of retrieval. His eyes moved to his beta. Jackson sighed heavily and turned those gray eyes on him, a frown on his face. You sure, boss? You want to do that? Yes, Nathan replied firmly. Send it to her law firm and make it to be signed for, so we know she got it. His mouth quirked in a smug smile. Let's see you ignore me now, little wolf, he thought. I can play as well as you can, only you can't ignore me. I am your alpha and you will do as I command. J-Law POV. Eric Stanton, the CEO of Stanton & Co. law firm, stood in front of her desk, tapping a black envelope in one hand while he waited patiently for her to end the call she was on. He would not rush her. It was one of her clients. The minute she hung up the phone, he stated, "How is it you know the Browning Corporation? And why is it you have not brought them in as a client?" He sounded a little annoyed with her, probably ticked off she had not mentioned her affiliation with the company he was talking about. But all she could feel the minute he mentioned the Browning Corporation was how hard her heart was hammering inside her chest. Her eyes moved to the black envelope in his hand. She could see the white lettering on it. It couldn't be. No, Cora echoed her thoughts. Those envelopes were reserved for serious offenses against the pack. It's an official notification. Eric had absolutely no idea what he had in his hands. All he knew was that on the back was the official Human World Pack Company seal. To him, it was just a multi-million-dollar corporation, one of whom was writing to one of his lawyers by name. How did you get that? She asked, trying not to show Eric how nervous she actually was. The head of the mailroom had to sign for it. He alerted me to the corporation it came from. He shrugged. Standard policy. J-Law stood up to take it from him, but he stopped her again. How do you know this corporation? Are they trying to headhunt you? He frowned down at her. No, they are not. J-Law shook her head. Please, may I have it? Explain yourself first. Eric stated in a flat, no-nonsense tone. Fine. I grew up within the Browning Corporation. My family still works for them. I, however, was tossed out at 20-inch, she said, trying to ignore the ache that suddenly hit her chest. She always missed home. Eric stared at her. His light gray eyes focused solely on her green ones quite intently. She could tell that he was trying to decide if she was speaking the truth. He was again tapping the envelope in his hand. Then he simply tore it open right before her eyes, clearly having decided not to believe her. J-Law prayed to the goddess that it was not worded in Wolfen, that the Alpha had thought things through and figured that this letter might end up in the hands of a human. Her whole body froze as he read the letter out aloud. J-Law Freeman, you have 3 days to respond to this letter. You will return to Browning Corporation within 7 days. Or I will have you brought in. Nathan Browning, CEO Browning Corporation. Eric upended the envelope and J-Law saw a long glass vial with a cork stopper fall into his hand. Inside the vial was a single purple wolfsbane flower. It meant nothing to Eric. He held it up and turned it over and around, trying to make sense of it, frowning at it the whole time. Jaylaw's heart, however, sank. This letter was a threat that the new Alpha, her once longtime childhood friend and lover, would use brute force, by any means necessary, to bring her in if she did not comply with his request. What he even wanted of her, she had no idea. The original letter had no topic, just a demand to come home more or less. Not that she wanted that. She had left at his order, and she did not wish to return. The Luna already hated her. Perhaps he had just taken over as Alpha, now Sophia, and he could finally punish her and officially turn her rogue. Was he so cruel that he wanted to do it in person? His Luna probably still harbored a grudge, and he would do anything for her. They probably wanted to see her in pain as she was severed from the pack. Jaylaw plucked the letter from Eric's hand and the glass vial as well, and read it for herself. Cora whined at her, also now worried that if they did go back they could not take the triplets with them. They would have to find someone to watch them, and then hope and pray to the goddess that banishment to a rogue status was all this was about, and once it was done she could leave and return to her life here in the human world. The other thoughts going through her mind were killing her. What if the Luna wanted to torture her, imprison her, or worse, kill her, leaving her children as orphans in the human world? Fear was creeping inside of her, but she had to push it down. No, she could leave them with Tony and Lauren, even though they have no knowledge of Wolfen society, and if the worst happens she knew they would take them in and raise them. Their first shift would terrify both them and the children probably, but what else could she do? She could not leave them to her real parents. The Luna would surely kill them the minute she figured out they were the Alpha's bastard children. She wouldn't want any competition for the heir to the pack rearing up from out of nowhere, and if they were given to her parents it wouldn't take long for Alpha Nathan to send out his own flesh and blood. His wolf would smell them the minute they hit pack territory. His Luna would be out to get rid of them at her earliest convenience. Eric drew her attention back to the present by tapping her on the shoulder. What is that all about? I don't know. Jaylaw shrugged in all honesty. I've been gone 6 years, Eric. You hired me right out of university. Have I not been here the whole time? He nodded. I don't want to lose you, Jaylaw. Why don't you call the office number? It's right there on the bottom. You can try to bring them in as a client. That is never going to happen, she thought to herself. You, my dear Eric, have no idea who he really is or what he can do, and you don't want to either. I doubt I would be able to. To be completely honest with you, the man hates me. So, why the demand for you to return? Perhaps. She seriously thought about it. Other than punishment for attacking his Luna, only one other thing stood out to her. The pack had paid for her law degree. She was supposed to return and work in the pack's legal department, be a productive member of their society, which she had not done. At his order. I guess I owe them law school fees. The Browning Corporation paid my tuition, and I was supposed to work for them right out of university, but seeing as I was tossed away 2 years into the degree and told never to go back, I never did. And they still paid your tuition? He asked, sounding confused. Yes, the CEO at the time was Blaine Browning. I guess he did. His son Nathan is now the CEO, and he was the one who tossed me out. Perhaps Blaine thought I would return or something.
Full story is available at novelpalace.com. Click the link in the comment section to get it free.